Hello, fellow food lovers. Today I will be making Chinese wonton noodle soup. You will need a quarter pound of ground pork, 10 medium shrimp, raw, a handful of noodles, 2 baby bok choy, 2 green onion, wonton wrappers, and 2 cups of chicken stock. For seasoning, for the filling, you need white pepper powder, soy sauce, and sesame oil. For the soup, you're going to need soy sauce, oyster sauce, and 1 teaspoon of ginger. We have 2 baby choy here. These are the Shanghai. Give it a wash, and then we're going to. So this recipe makes 2 servings. We have 2 green onions. We're going to slice it up. So I usually cut the roots off. I don't use that. And I have a little knob of ginger, about 1 teaspoon worth. And I'm going to give that a fine mince. Mince or julienne's fine. So you have to cut the skin off and cut the ends off before you use it. We'll also need chicken stock, so I'm using the tetra pack, and noodles. So these are special noodles for wonton noodle soup. It's the typical noodle used in Hong Kong to make wonton noodle soup. It's like a really fine noodle. So one of those portions is good for 2 people. Okay, I have about 10 shrimp there. I'm going to peel them. They already come deveined. You don't have to worry about the vein. But if they aren't, you can easily remove it by cutting on the back of the shrimp and rinsing it underneath the water until the black vein comes out. Usually on small shrimp, it may not be necessary to devein it, but on the large shrimp or prawns, you should do it because it could be a bit gritty. Okay, I've shelled all 10 shrimp. I'm going to cut each one into little pieces, so maybe 3 to 4 pieces per shrimp. That's so that they can fit into the wonton wrappers better if you cut them up. If you use it whole, it's a little difficult once it's mixed in with the pork. Okay, so there's a quarter pound of ground pork. I'm going to add the shrimp to it. So I'm going to season it with a dash of white pepper powder, a splash of sesame oil, and a little bit of soy sauce. So I mix the seasoning and the shrimp into the pork with my fingers. If you want, you can use chopsticks or a spoon as well to mix it. Okay, so those are the wonton wrappers. So usually for a quarter pound of ground pork with 10 shrimp mixed in, that would be good for about half the package of wrappers. It should make about 25 wontons, and I think there's like on average about 50 wonton skins in a package. Yeah, so you'll use half of that. Anything you have left over, you can wrap it in cellophane and put it in the freezer. It has to be wrapped tightly so that it doesn't dry out when it's in the freezer, whatever's left over. Okay, so I had a little bowl of water set aside for wetting the sides of the wonton. So I'll dip my fingers in the water and kind of run along all four sides of the wrapper. And then I'm going to put a little bit of filling in there, right in the middle. You don't want to overload it with too much filling, otherwise you'll have difficulty closing. So you have a bit of filling in the center, and then you're going to bring the opposite ends together, and then the other two edges come up together as well, so they all come together to form a little pocket like that. So make sure you pinch the ends good so that they stay closed. The water will help to seal it and keep it closed. Okay, again, bring the opposite sides together, pinch it closed, and then bring the other two corners up there as well. And then pinch it sealed. And there you go. That's a really quick wonton. That's the best way to fold a wonton if you want to put as much filling as you can into it. Okay, so that's about 25 wontons we made using the quarter pound of pork and the 10 pieces of shrimp. So that's good enough for 2 people. You can portion out 10 to 12 wontons per person. Along with the noodles and the soup, it should be quite filling. So a typical wonton in Hong Kong will be a mix of ground pork and shrimp. Or some wontons are just shrimp only as well. Okay, so we're going to make the meat. So I'm going to put the 4 pieces of bok choy into the hot boiling water. So I filled the wok about 2/3 full with boiling water, and then I have it on high heat. So the baby bok choy cook in about 2-3 minutes. It'll change into a little darker color when it's cooked. So we want to cook the bok choy first before we cook the noodles and the wontons, because the noodles and the wonton will leave a bit of a starchy color, a starchy whiteness to the water after it's used. So you don't want that kind of starchiness on the veggies. The veggies get cooked first. So now we put the noodles in, and these will boil for 4-5 minutes, and they'll be good. I believe these particular noodles are raw in the package and not pre-cooked. Okay, so that batch of noodles, I actually portioned it out between 2 bowls, and I added some more water because it was kind of getting low. Okay, so once the water's come to a boil again, we're going to add the wontons 1 piece at a time into the hot water. The reason you add them 1 at a time is to keep them from sticking together. Okay, I put all 25 wontons in there. We're going to give it a stir, make sure they're not sticking, and make sure they're not stuck to the bottom of the wok. So you know the wontons are cooked when they float up to the surface. When the wonton wrapper changes color, it becomes a little lighter, and it's floating on the surface of the water, it means it's done. So these wontons took maybe 3, 4, or 5 minutes to cook. Okay, so I put 2 pieces of baby bok choy in each bowl next to the wontons. Okay, so I emptied the water, I washed the wok, and it's on high heat again. So I'm going to make the soup broth. So I'm going to put 2 cups of chicken stock in there. And 1 cup of water, just so it's not too strong of a flavored broth. So we're gonna season the broth with the ginger. Then we're gonna put a dash of soy sauce in there. And a dash of oyster sauce. And once the soup's come to a boil, it's ready. Then you want to ladle it in to the wonton and noodles. And you just want to fill it until the soup's at the same level as the wontons. You don't want to have too much soup in there. And then we're gonna garnish them with green onion. Okay, there you have it. That's a very classic Chinese wonton noodle soup. Okay, bon appetit.